Hi, cultivation of wheat. Today I will tell you an interesting business idea. Like and subscribe from you. Let's go, guys.
Cultivation of wheat. Wheat is one of the most important and sought-after types of agricultural products, as it is used to make flour for baking bread, pasta, and confectionery. Bread is a product of basic necessity, so there is no need to talk about the demand for wheat. It is high and stable. In addition, wheat is exported to other countries, and you, as an entrepreneur, will be able to sell the harvest of this grain crop in wholesale batches through the large agricultural holdings of our country. It is impossible to call the field of agriculture well developed, as there are many difficulties, starting from state support for agribusiness, weather conditions, and ending with market prices for grain. All these factors do not contribute to the rapid investment of money by entrepreneurs in the agricultural sphere of activity. But at the same time, it reduces the level of competition in the same wheat business. It is worth starting such a business only if you have the starting capital to rent land, purchase garden material, pay for agricultural machinery services, wages for specialists, and other expenses. Typically, farmers in this niche work with large acreage of 50 hectares or more to get a good harvest and work with the largest buyers of wheat grain in the market. The format of work on sowing small areas at home in the same garden and the subsequent sale of grain in retail markets is not very profitable and, with all the risks, can lead to a loss of money and time. Who is this activity suitable for? An entrepreneur who decided to grow wheat must have a wealth of knowledge on the agricultural technology of growing wheat, its processing, fertilizing, sowing, and harvesting periods. Otherwise, the wrong approach to the technology of caring for this grain crop can lead to a decrease in yield. The second option is cooperation with an experienced agronomist who will fully control all processes from sowing to harvesting. Wheat is susceptible to growing conditions, such as climate, plant diseases, pests, and more. So it is necessary to approach the matter seriously and clearly comply with all requirements from the selection of soil and seeds to the harvest period. From wheat grains are produced flour, cereals, butter. Also, some of the cereals that you buy in stores also consist of this cereal crop: semolina, couscous, bulgur, frick. In addition, the grain is fed to farm animals. Initial conditions for starting your business. The profitability of this business largely depends on the area planted with wheat and the volume of the harvested crop. Some farmers can cultivate 150 hectares of fields, and some take thousands of hectares to sow these grains. You can start with a dozen hectares, increasing the sown area every year. It is not worth buying land. It is very expensive. It is not always possible to arrange everything correctly from a legal point of view. The best solution is to rent land. The cost of renting 1 hectare of land per year is about $80 to $120, depending on the type of soil and location. You can negotiate with the landowners directly, offering them your terms of cooperation. As a rule, at this stage you will already have the first struggle with competitors, because a lot of land is already rented out, and your task is to offer better conditions for the lessor. Draw up a land lease agreement with clearly defined responsibilities of both parties so that there are no force majeure situations in the future, even in legal matters related to your wheat growing business. Technology of growing wheat for business. An experienced agronomist should be engaged in the development of technology for the full cycle of wheat cultivation. This process will include all stages from the choice of variety, fertilizers, cultivation, and care of plants to determining the degree of maturity of the crop. Types and varieties of wheat. Before starting the sowing, it is worth understanding in detail the types and varieties of wheat in order to choose the appropriate crop options, focusing on the climate and soils in your region. Your task is to create favorable agroclimatic conditions for growing wheat by processing and fertilizing the fields. Types of wheat. In modern realities, 2 types of wheat are in the greatest demand. Soft wheat. These are bread varieties of cereals. It is characterized by a high content of protein and gluten. Solid. It is most often used to make pasta. It has a high level of protein content, or rich yellow color, suitable for baking. A popular subspecies is durum wheat, with a hard grain of dark color, rich in gluten. By duration of sowing. Winter wheat. Sowing dates: end of August, September. Harvesting: spring, summer of the following year. The optimal depth is 3 centimeters under conditions of the required humidity. The sowing rate for most varieties is 160 to 250 kilograms ha. Winter crop varieties are demanding on the soil. Good crops can be obtained on the following types of soil: Chernozem, chestnut, gray forest, sod podzolic soils. At the same time, there should be an appropriate level of humidity. Sharp changes in temperature can provoke plant diseases, septoriosis, helminthosporiosis, fusarium head blight, and others. Harvesting is carried out by direct combining. After harvesting, the grain is cleaned, dried, and the necessary storage conditions are created. In grain warehouses, the temperature should be maintained at +5 to +8 degrees Celsius, and the humidity should not exceed 70%. Before grain storage, the premises are disinfected, and then regular inspections are carried out. Wax maturity of winter wheat varieties is 10 to 12 days, and full maturity is 6 to 10 days. Harvest usually takes 10 days. Spring wheat. Field preparation for planting spring wheat begins in the fall, and its format depends on the predecessor that was on the field. Most often, preparation works include trimming the grass with a flat cutter, and after 2 to 3 weeks, the field is plowed with a plow with cultural dumps, and with front plows to a depth of 20 to 22 centimeters try to clear the field of the remains of previous plants by 1 to 2 cultivations. Such grains are sown very early, as soon as the climatic conditions allow, and the temperature of the seed layer warms up to 5 to 6 degrees Celsius. When sowing, the narrow row method is usually used. The planting depth is 2 to 3 centimeters. The seeds are planted in moist soil. Spring wheat care procedures include rolling, harrowing, fertilizing, and weed control. Harrowing to a depth of up to 3 centimeters helps remove weed sprouts. Also, herbicides are used to control weeds. If necessary, they treat wheat against pests and diseases. Harvesting is done using direct combining. The most effective time of harvesting lasts about 7 to 10 days, even if the weather is favorable. If you do not have time to harvest, then the grain will fall, and your business will suffer financial losses. Good predecessors for both types of wheat are broad-leaved crops, legumes, and sunflower. In some cases, wheat is sown in fields where other cereal crops were previously grown. But keep in mind that this contributes to the development and accumulation of wheat pests and diseases in the field, which will ultimately lead to a significant decrease in yield. Crop rotation should be followed for this crop. An important parameter when choosing a wheat variety is the classification by grain quality. I group. The cost of flour from grain I group will be higher than the average, due to the excellent requirements for product quality. 2 group. It is characterized by different types of grain and its composition, some of which are not hard enough compared to the I group, some are too soft, and some are of quite high quality. Preparation of wheat seeds. An important stage in sowing wheat is seed preparation. Seeds cleaned of impurities and sorted by size are selected for planting. The highest yield rates can provide large intact seeds, with parameters. For soft varieties, the weight of 1,000 grains is 35 to 40 grams, and for hard varieties, at least 40 grams. The seeds are pre-treated with a mordant. Sometimes farmers carry out incrustation, which prevents the development of root rot and moldy seeds. Average consumption of seeds, 100 to 150 kilograms on 1 hectare. The price per ton of seeds, $380 to $500. You will need to spend $57 to $75 on 1 hectare of seeds. The purchase of seeds should be made in specialized agricultural firms with prior consultation with an agronomist. Feeding and fertilizers. To obtain good yields of this grain crop, highly fertile soils and timely applied fertilizers will be required. The terms and volumes of fertilizers depend on the following factors: the type of predecessor, climatic zone, soil fertility, and others. Organic fertilizers can be applied during autumn tillage. Nitrogen fertilizers are not applied in autumn. When sowing, simple granulated superphosphate can be applied. Equipment for processing fields. Since the wheat business involves working with large sown areas, a farmer definitely cannot do without specialized equipment. In addition to it, a warehouse for grain storage, equipped with a ventilation and heating system, will be needed to create the necessary microclimate conditions so that the crop retains its marketable characteristics. Agricultural machinery will require tractor, harrow and plow, seeder, plower, cultivator, freight transport. When buying equipment, there are several options: to take new, used in condition, leasing. The choice in most cases depends on the financial capabilities of the entrepreneur. Some agrarians in general, in the first days, completely rent equipment for processing fields sown with wheat. There's no point in thinking about buying an expensive harvester. You will need this equipment for 10 to 20 days a year, and its maintenance and repair will cost a considerable amount. It is easier and simpler to rent a car with a driver. Product sales markets. Where can you hand over the grain after harvesting? Wholesale buyers and representatives of agricultural holdings. Grain processing enterprises, including flour production plants. Large manufacturers of flour products. Product warehouses. If the wheat is fodder, then the crop can be sold to farmers and sold at retail on the market. It is worth looking for customers to buy grain in different directions, choosing a favorable price and selling the maximum amount of crop for one sale. How much should be invested? When drawing up a business plan for a wheat growing farm, it is worth taking into account all items of expenses for this business. As an example, we will give costs for 1 hectare of sown area. All calculations are relative and may vary in your region. Start attachments. Planting grain $57 to $75 per 1 hectare. Fertilizers from $60 per hectare. Machinery and equipment from $15,000. Construction of warehouses from $10,000. Business registration $250. Annual expenses. Land rent $80 to $120 for 1 hectare. Fertilizers and preparations from $60 per hectare. Equipment rental is contractual. Payment to workers is contractual. Taxes $1,500. Transportation costs from $400. All costs depend on many factors, and it will not be possible to calculate them for sure. Starting from the type of equipment to the brands of fertilizers used, the cost of renting equipment in your region, and more. How much can you earn? The average yield in Ukraine was 4 to 5 tons per hectare. Average wholesale price for 1 ton of wheat, $195 to $230. From 1 hectare you can get about $800 to $900. Profitability of this business, 20% to 30%. You can start making money growing wheat if you have knowledge of agricultural techniques for growing this crop, transport, or the ability to rent it inexpensively, and, of course, land that you can rent in your region. The production of wheat grain is an area where major players of the agricultural market play, because this is the only way to get high profit. But the risks associated with the weather and plant diseases have not been dismissed.
Thank you for viewing this. Good day, guys. Bye.